Everybody, I'm Gary McLean, and you are watching Talent Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Just a reminder that if you haven't done so already, please do go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel today. As always, your support's greatly appreciated. Now, one thing we've tried to do this year, this will be our third episode for season 4, and what we started to do as well is start to throw some of the previous episodes onto various podcasts such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, all those kind of things. If you want to find out more information or see all the venues you can actually have a listen, just go to the YouTube description on this episode or the last couple episodes and get that full list and check it out if you like. Also, another reminder that this is a live and interactive show. So if you have any comments or questions as the show goes on, feel free to throw them into the comment section and we'll try and address it as we can. Now, unfortunately, some of you folks that are currently watching might be here for Adele. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, she's had to postpone briefly. So she will actually be back on the show next week, same time. So if you are here for her, I do ask that you stick around for this next guest as well, but also be aware that she will be back next week and we can have that chat then. Now, today's guest, he is a great guest for today. He is a Calgary local actor. He's been seen on shows such as Winona Earp, Damnation, Black Summer, just to name a few. He's got various credits throughout theater as it's kind of his background within Alberta. And he keeps finding that his passion keeps drawing him back to the film and television. And that's where he's hoping to increase his credentials. And he's also a very avid supporter of the local Alberta independent film scene and loves working with passionate people and storytellers. So having said all that, I do hope you'll join me in welcoming Mr. Kealey Storrs.
Hello.
Kealey.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. It was very short notice. So thanks for doing that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said in the intro there, Adele just didn't have the opportunity to make it, so welcome.
I mean, I can understand why people would be tuning in to see Adele, and I'm sorry that I'm not Adele, but I'll do my best, guys. I'll try to keep you entertained.
Since I know you will, so I'm not worried.
Perfect.
Right?
That's right.
So let's delve right into it.
Yes, sir.
Let's actually talk about your Ecto 1 plate behind you there, just because it's been drawing my attention. So we'll just start it off right there.
I'm a huge fan of Ghostbusters. To be entirely honest, I'm a geek in general, but Ghostbusters is like, I've loved it since I was a kid. I watched the cartoons, obviously the movies, and I had the pleasure of actually working on the new Ghostbusters movie when it was filming in Calgary. So, big fan of Ghostbusters. And my kids got that for me for Christmas a couple years ago. So,
nice.
Of course, you got to hang it up.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does it feel, being such a fan of the show and then actually being on the film? Like, were you in your element, or what was going on there?
It was mind-boggling, man. Unfortunately, my face hit the cutting room floor. You don't see me in the project. The Walmart sequence with Paul Rudd and the little mini Marshmallow Man. Paul Rudd and I in the aisle there we had a little moment where we looked at each other, and then little Marshmallow guy pops out of the bag, and I run off. They decided that they weren't getting enough of Paul's face in that sequence, so they changed the angle, and that was the end of me in that. But I did get to be on set with a terror dog, which was amazing.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why they need more of Paul's face. I mean, isn't that all we ever see is Paul's face?
Like, come on, he's the best looking guy in the world. We've seen enough of Paul. Put this mug on the screen.
Right, exactly. Get some fresh blood in there. Come on.
That's right.
I can only imagine. Yeah, that must have been a blast, though. Yeah.
Oh, it was incredible, and getting to meet Jason and Ivan Reitman was really cool too. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paul Rudd's definitely one of those guys I wouldn't mind chatting with one day. So if you're watching, Paul, which I know you are, I mean, who isn't, right? Come on, get you on the show.
Yeah.
We'll do
Just
that.
we'll give you a phone number. You just give them a call. Yeah,
Right?
get
Exactly.
you set up.
So let's kind of delve into your history a bit.
Yeah, you bet.
You actually started at a fairly young age.
I was 10 years old. Grew up in Drumheller, which Drumheller, Alberta, for those who are not in Alberta, which in the 90s was a sort of a hotbed for film and television. Lots of stuff was being filmed out there. On top of that is North America's largest outdoor stage, which is 9 acres of land, and every summer they do the Canadian Badlands Passion play on it. And that's where I dipped my toes into the world of acting for the first time, and it hooked me instantly. I mean, what 10-year-old doesn't want to perform in front of 2,000 plus people in an audience? Yeah.
I can actually say, not me.
No.
No, you know what? When I was 10, I wanted nothing to do with any of that stuff. I was supposed to do like a school play or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like the kid in the back who like just mouthed the song to whatever song they were doing. I didn't actually sing. I was just like, I don't want to be here. I'm like looking around.
I was so rambunctious on set my very first year. It was hard to control me and whatnot. So the next year, I came back and they had actually written in the role of the demon-possessed child. For those who don't know what the Canadian Badlands Passion play is, it's the story of Jesus up to and including the crucifixion, resurrection, so on and so forth. So they wrote in the role of the demon-possessed child to kind of give me that outlet to be rambunctious and loud and disruptive with purpose, I guess. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I would have been 11 at that point. So
Right.
Yeah.
And then you guys kind of moved around a bit as well, I think, right? And then you found your way eventually to like Medicine Hat.
Yeah. So I lived in Drumheller till I was 25 and then moved away down to Medicine Hat and got involved with their local theater scene down there, more on the technical side of things, doing lighting design for productions like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and getting involved with their community theater down there in any way I could. They did mostly musical theater, and that's not so much my scene. I can sing, but not well enough to put me on stage doing it. So I took the opportunity to get involved on the technical side of things, and that was really cool. It was a great opportunity to exercise a different part of my brain.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Just because this guy likes to comment once in a while. Demon-possessed child all the way to Ghostbusters.
All the way, buddy.
That's for you, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our co-host of the show, folks, Tingaze DeVary, he likes to, bust balls.
Yeah. He's a ball buster.
Yeah. So then when was kind of your first taste to get into film and television?
So my first taste was actually, we'll go back to Drumheller. I had done some music video stuff out there. We made little homemade films and whatnot with our drama program in high school. And then Shanghai Noon came along. And that was like my first big major production, was working on Shanghai Noon, going back and forth on 8 miles of track for 3 days with Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson. And then what else? Oh, we did the Matthew Shepard story in Drumheller, which starred Stockard Channing. So most of it was background work, but I just found that one of the things that draws me to film and television is as a performer, as a day player or background and that kind of thing, you tend to come in, you do your thing, and you go home. Whereas theater is like 3 to 4 months of rehearsals, and it's very time consuming, very, very large commitments, which kudos to those who are doing it. But more so now, I have a wife, I have children, that kind of thing. And I miss performing on stage, but it's such a huge time commitment that it makes it difficult to really give myself to that.
Yeah, and I get that for sure. That's, I mean, family was kind of the same reason I directed myself away from theater as well.
Mhm.
But it is like it. I do sometimes find that theater is a bit more rewarding than film and
Yeah.
television, just
Yeah.
because you do get that instantaneous reaction from the crowds or
Yeah.
lack of reaction from the crowd.
That opportunity to only
Right.
do it once that night, and you don't get a retake on it,
No.
so you better get it right. It's a little stressful, but man, is it fun. That stress. I also love improv too, so being in those situations where there's the potential to screw it up,
Mhm.
but dig your way out of that hole it's the adrenaline gets going. It's cool.
Yeah, or having your castmate dig you out, which I've had the pleasure of
Absolutely, yes.
being the recipient of that a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a different ball game, and yeah, I kind of miss it myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
I haven't actually auditioned, I don't think, for definitely well pre-COVID.
Being down where I am, so I'm down, we'll say near Lethbridge, because Lethbridge is a bigger center. Being down here, there's not a lot of opportunity for that kind of stuff where I am. So film and television seems to be a little more accessible for me to be able to go to Calgary and work up there, which is about 2.5 hours away, give or take, from where I am, and give a few days to that, as opposed to driving back and forth for 3 or 4 months to do theater.
Yeah, and that'd be a lot for sure.
It's huge. Yeah.
Right. What would you say right now is probably, and this is spanning both theater
Mhm.
and film, your most memorable moment at this point?
Most memorable moment? Ooh. I mean, working on Fargo was really big for me. That was like my first larger speaking role in something uh, that actually saw the light of day. Getting that opportunity and then being on like networks around the world and going in and googling myself, because which one of us doesn't do that, and discovering all these different websites that have like tracked my career, which is mind-boggling to me. But it all started with Fargo, and being on set with just amazing people like DJ Qualls. Super cool to be able to perform with him. It was, yeah, that's Fargo was a big moment for me. And walking on set and getting your own trailer, that's mind blowing when you see your name on your own trailer.
Totally right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's almost like a first kiss, you know? This is the one thing you won't forget for a while. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, my trailer. Even though I don't know about your trailer, but I know in my first trailer, it had this little console with this
Mhm.
little like 10-inch TV,
Yeah.
like a VHS tape.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they still have the VHS players in the trailers to this day.
Right?
At
That
least
was
here in Alberta. I'm sure LA they're throwing Blu-rays or whatever in there, or Chromecast, or I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Cassette player. I'm like, what? 8-track. I'm like, what's going on?
No, it was cool to walk on set, and you're walking in to sign in, and you go past your trailer and they go, "Oh, Mr. Storrs, you can just go in your trailer. We'll bring everything to you." And I'm going, I don't have to come to you. And they, "Mr. Storrs, do you need anything to drink? Do you need anything to eat?" And it's just mind blowing. It changes the whole dynamic of everything like that.
It's that whole hierarchy, right, between
It really is.
cast and background.
Yeah,
Like there's such a weird level difference there. It's insane.
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, that always kind of blew my mind as well. Except again, the first time I was on set for that, I did part of my scene, and then they're like, "Okay, switch." You know, so they're going to switch views. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I went back to my trailer when I wasn't supposed to. Right? They're like, "Oh, let's go to like a little casting waiting area."
It was weird for them to call in a stand-in for me, and I'm going, "I can stand here. This is fine. Just frame it up. We're good." And they're going, "No, you go sit down. We've got a stand-in for you." And it was weird, just wild.
Yeah, right. Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, so yeah, when I went back to my trailer, I wasn't actually supposed to go there because there was a really quick turnaround for them to set up the camera. So then they're looking for me. They're like, "Where's Gary? We got to start rolling. Like, where is this guy?" It's like, knock, knock, knock. Oh, am I not supposed to be here? Yeah, no, you're supposed to be on set. Oh, Surprised I got another job after that. Because every second is money for these guys, right? So
It is, and everybody. You realize even more so when you're in a principal role, just how much everybody else is so dedicated to doing what they're there to do. Even the assistants, like where I couldn't reach 3 feet to grab my bottle of water, the young lady that they had working with me, she's like, I'll get that for you. And I'm going, it's like, I can reach it. It's fine. This is my job. I've got to do this. Oh, okay. So it also was very surprising how quickly I got very comfortable with that too.
right. Next thing you know, you're going home and going, can you get me my water?
My wife tells me to get off my butt and get it myself.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I always get a kick out of hearing people's first time stories with a trailer. Which, by the way, Mary Armstrong wanted to say that trailer must be amazing. Congrats on that.
Thanks, Mary.
And yeah, don't worry, Mary, you'll be there shortly.
Absolutely, you got it.
Yeah. Except you'll probably have more trailers than us.
I was gonna say Mary is she will end up with way more trailers than I'll ever see. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you kind of, like you said, Fargo was kind of your most memorable, and I think after Fargo, was it Damnation after Fargo?
Oh goodness, yeah, Damnation. I got on as SSE, which for those who don't know is Special Skills Experience. It used to be called Special Skills Extra, but we background performers do not like the term extra, so it is Special Skills Experience. And what they do is they bring you in because you have a certain skill set that they require on set. You get bumped up a little bit on the pay scale, I guess. And they bring you in specifically to do that job. So I was what was called a pavilion guard on that. I'm educated in correctional studies, so I learned how to frisk people and detain people. So they wanted me to frisk the guy down, take his weapons from him, and that kind of stuff. And because I had experience doing that, that's what they brought me in for.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. And you've actually been kind of taking some classes and workshops and such for stunt work.
Yes. Yeah, you bet.
And I'm just wondering if you've actually had the opportunity yet to kind of put that into practice, or is that? I'll let you answer.
Yeah. So, as far as actual stunt stuff goes, most of what I've done has been in independent projects. The closest I've come to doing actual stunt work on larger projects would be, I guess, Black Summer. Mr. Adrian Young brought me in to do, again, SSE work. And in those situations, essentially the cutoff line is you can't hit the ground, right? As soon as you hit the ground, that's considered a stunt. So we could run, we could get slammed into walls, we could get shot, we could attack people as zombies, that kind of stuff, but we could not fall on the ground. That was sort of where the cutoff was. So I did a lot of running. I get attacked by a zombie and slammed into a wall as she jumps on my back. Yeah, so that was the closest on a big project I've come to doing actual stunt work. And then in independent film, I've been shot in the head by maybe the guy sitting next. Which way are you? That way? I don't know. It's all backwards. Yeah, somewhere. Been shot in the head. I've been hit in the head with crowbars. I have been tackled to the ground and beaten to a pulp. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and taking those training courses has taught me how to hit the ground properly without causing serious damage to myself, because it's amazing how easy it is to damage yourself in that process. I'm not a young man anymore, so doing stupid things tend to lead to long-term consequences physically for me. So I like doing the fighting sequences, that kind of stuff. But as far as falling downstairs and getting launched out windows, that kind of stuff, I mean, if the opportunity came, I'd probably take it, but it's not anything I'm chasing down these days. But if you need me to get punched or punch someone, I can do that for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna go that direction with the whole age thing. I mean, you're younger than I am, but yeah, I thought about getting into stunt work, but I think it's more of a younger person's game.
I think
I
if
already
you're
have
gonna
trouble walking down the stairs, let alone falling down the stairs. That's just going to come naturally eventually. So
I think if you're going to pursue a career in stunts, probably start a lot earlier than I did. Yeah, it's you got to be able to do some pretty extreme stuff and take a good solid thumping if you're going to make a career out of it. But for guys like myself, I can do the minor stunt work. I have been launched into the air in my training, that kind of stuff, and it's really cool. It's an amazing experience, but I think if I had to do 20 or 30 takes of it, I'd be very, very sore at the end of the day.
Yeah, and actually, I'm just going to share a quick photo of you and someone else that you worked with in the past on stunt stuff.
Dear sweet Shauna.
Shauna McGill.
Yes.
And so this scene here what was this for? Was this for Black Summer? Or?
This was for Black Summer. So Shauna and I were paired up to be a couple on that with actually the stunt coordinator's daughter. She played our daughter in that sequence as well. And poor Shauna gets attacked by a zombie and taken down, and me and the daughter run off into the horizon, which is funny because later on, Shauna and I, you end up seeing us together again later on, and she saves me from the zombie that jumps on my back. She ends up shooting that zombie. So, nice. Yeah, Shauna's great. I love working with Shauna.
Yeah, and she's definitely making a name for herself in the stunt world.
She is. So, she's good. Holy heck, is she good?
Yeah, right. She does things like and then all of a sudden I'm in pain just thinking about what she's done.
She did so much stunt work on Black Summer. It's insane. She gets launched through a van window. It's watching that stunt. I just go, how did you walk away from that? It's nuts. And granted, I mean, there's a fair amount of green screen, but she still hit the ground. And
right, yeah. I mean,
she got up and did it a couple times, so good for her.
I mean, the harness work and the people that are behind that to kind of help, mitigate risk.
Well, she did she worked on your short film, and there's a sequence in there where she ends up falling with her daughter in her arms, and I just it blew my mind when I saw that. She was unreal, and she took it like a pro, ladies and champ.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not going to go into the details of that right now. I mean, it was definitely fun to shoot, but yeah. I don't want to give anything away to the viewers.
No, for sure, for sure.
And the movie he's talking about is called Yard Sale. There's my self plug for the day.
If you haven't seen it, check it out, folks. It's incredible. Love it.
Okay, so back to the stunt stuff here. So what was the last one you actually did for an independent project for stunt work? And was that the shot in the head, or was that?
No, the last one. So this would have been last summer. It's called The Guardian, The Orbs Archive. Okay. It's a 10-minute short film that is being developed into a much larger project. I'm not sure how much I can say about it. We did screen the short film in Okotoks here about a month ago. Turned out beautiful. It's great. And that was one where I helped choreograph a little bit of a fight sequence in it, and a buddy of mine, CJ, who has the lead on that, he tackles me to the ground and just beats the snot out of me in that one. So that was pretty cool. I like working with CJ as well. And any opportunity to wrestle with the guys that I've done training with for stunt work is always a good time.
Yeah, no doubt, eh? And it's definitely a bigger market than I originally thought it was. Like up until a couple of years ago when I did some stuff on Secret History, I just never realized how big of an industry it was. Right, but I mean, there's stunts for everything.
There is
for everything.
It
Really?
always surprises me what they'll bring stunt people in for, and I get it for the leads and the principals on the show. You don't want to damage them because if they can't work, that's money down the toilet, right? So you bring in stunt people for them, but then there's all these little side things that happen too that you look at it and it blows your mind how many stunt people are brought in for some of the smallest things you can imagine. And then sometimes they just throw background into it and they go, all right, you're going to do this, but that's not really on big
Yeah,
budget
yeah, right. Well, then you look at guys like Tom Cruise, who
stuff.
still does his own stunts, and when he broke his ankle on Mission Impossible, there,
Well,
um,
he gets away with that because he produces all of his films.
right,
So he has a little more leverage than people like me, where he goes, "No, I'm paying for this, so I'm going to get hurt."
right, yeah. It's still a different mentality, that's for sure.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to be walking on the wings of a biplane anytime soon, which apparently he did for the new Mission Impossible film that's coming out. So,
Yeah, he's yeah.
kudos to him. He's not a young guy anymore
No,
either.
right?
So good on him. Way to go.
Totally. I think he's older than me. I think. And yeah, like I said, I'm struggling getting down the stairs, let alone hanging off a biplane there. So,
Yeah.
so let's actually kind of talk a bit more about the independent film scene,
For sure.
which in Alberta is quite vast.
Mhm.
There's a lot that goes on here.
You
I
betcha.
think a lot more than a lot of people realize.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, when they hear Calgary, they think cows and cowboys.
Yeah, yeah, oil
Where
patch, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
right, where in reality, we have a very large but tight community
Yeah.
across all of Alberta, right? Like folks in Edmonton will work with us, we'll work with folks in Edmonton. Like it's very cross-directional, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
I am quite proud of the community here. And of course, just a quick plug out to, you know, oh my God, Keep Alberta Rolling.
Yes. Yes.
Totally left my head for a second there. But they've done a lot of work in helping promote that industry within Alberta as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, and just so we spread the word and let people know that there's a great market here for you to kind of look at.
Absolutely.
How do you feel from your perspective? Like I know you're a big advocate for independent film, and what do you feel is something that we can maybe work on to improve?
I think when it comes to independent film, the biggest roadblock is sort of cooperating with the union ACTRA here in Alberta. It prevents a lot of people from being able to work in the industry, and I get it. A lot of people get their feet wet in the independent film industry, and then they move on to bigger projects, become union members, and it pays more to be a union member and to be in those bigger projects, right? I think one of the things that gets lost in that, though, and not to say people in the larger projects are not passionate about what they do, but on small projects, you tend to have a tighter knit, smaller group of people that really share the same passion for the whole project rather than just their specific job, right? So figuring out how the independent film industry and the union can work together a little bit more easily would be a huge step in the right direction. And I don't know the solution to that. Obviously, I'm not. I am a union member, and I still work on the occasional independent film. I don't think I'm supposed to say that.
Where's my edit button?
Yeah, hit edit, please. But I'm very careful about which projects I take on, who I work with, in what roles I work in, that kind of thing, because I do want other people to have that opportunity to get in there and experience what it's like to be on set, to take on a role and play that role on film. And I don't want to take those opportunities away from people who are non-members to the union as well. So if there's a way to figure out how to make the union and independent film work together a little bit more smoothly, I think that would be a huge step in the right direction.
For sure. And like you said, when it comes to And sometimes even myself, because I am also an actor member,
Yeah.
I do kick myself sometimes because I feel I signed up too quickly.
Mm.
That although I had some credentials,
Yeah.
I feel I needed to add more to that before I actually signed on, right? Because, like you said, once you're actually technically, you should be working on independent
That's
or
right.
non-union projects.
Yeah.
But there's such a ratio of more potential non-union work than there is actual union work.
Yeah.
That you kind of have to in order to keep your craft going and keep yourself
Yeah.
fresh. And I think
I
I agree with you. I think that's where the struggle comes in.
I find for myself, I'm more likely to land a larger role, a more significant role on an independent project in Alberta than I am to land it on a larger budget project, simply because larger budget projects, they want known names, they want people that are going to draw an audience. And as pretty as I like to think I am, my face is not drawing people into the theaters or tuning in every week on a TV station or streaming channel or whatever. And then I also have the relationships with people in the independent film industry who have worked with me, who know what I can do, and they'll approach me about taking on roles because that's what they want. So yeah, it's tricky because I certainly don't want to disrespect the union. I worked very hard to join the union, and I'm very proud to be a member of it. But yeah, in order to continue honing that craft and sharpening the skills, so to speak, um, it's one of those things that I have a hard time turning down those roles because it does keep me sharp when it comes to performing.
Yeah, and do you feel? I don't know about you, but I feel some of that also is attributed to the fact that there's not a lot of cross province casting, right?
Yeah.
Like if I feel if I had more opportunities to audition in Vancouver or Toronto,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, it's really interesting how that whole system works in that we're really keen to bring people in from BC or LA or Toronto to Alberta to perform, but those other jurisdictions have a really hard time with bringing us in to perform in their areas. And I think part of that comes down to population, right? Toronto and Vancouver have huge populations of performers and actors out there that they can draw from. Our demographic out here is probably a little bit smaller, so they tend to, I guess, cast that net a little bit wider.
right?
That's what I have to tell myself, anyways, to be okay with the fact that people from Vancouver keep getting work out here.
Yeah, no, I've definitely struggled with that as well. I've seen some roles that have gone to people
Yeah,
from, say, Toronto or even overseas, right?
yeah.
Somebody from overseas for a role locally here, and you're like, but you've got so many equally talented people here.
There is
I just
so
don't
much
understand it.
amazing talent in Alberta, and I would love to see them get promoted more and more in this province, in the projects that are coming here, in whatever capacity that we can. There's so many incredible actors here that just do not get the opportunities that they deserve, um, or that they should be getting, in my
Yeah,
opinion. And
yeah,
I could be off base on that. That's a possibility, but that's the way I've seen things over the last number of years. It seems that there's a lot of people that are not getting the opportunities that they really should be getting.
yeah. And we could be like the biased parents where it's like, it's
Yeah,
our
right.
kid, right? It's like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
you should be picking our kid. What are you doing?
I mean, I don't envy the casting directors. I don't envy their job at all. Because they have to sit and they have to watch hundreds upon hundreds of audition tapes, and then they have to try and narrow it down to the top two or three and send that on to the producers and directors and whatnot. And yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't envy them for what they have to do. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm throwing shade at them either, because they've got a pretty big job to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, right. Yeah. Um, I mean, they're yeah,
Yeah,
they work hard for what they do,
they do. They really do.
especially
I
like
don't know if I'd have the patience to sit through that many audition tapes,
right.
especially knowing some of the audition tapes that I've sent in, and then I go back and I look at it and I go, I made someone sit through that. You
Yeah, I've
almost
done
feel
that too. Yeah.
guilty. Yeah.
gone back like, did I really submit that?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, I try not to look at anything more than about 6 months back in my folders, because God knows I'm not going to be happy with it.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I don't mind doing it because it does make me kind of go back and go, okay, well, I'm doing that differently if I had a recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does help you make sure that you're continuing to move forward in your performance, right? Rather than becoming stagnant and just throwing out really terrible audition tapes and going, why aren't I getting cast as anything?
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, it's not a bad thing to go back and look at the old stuff. Yeah.
But are you one of those actors who can't watch his own projects, or are you
No,
okay
man, I love watching myself. As egotistical as that might sound, I love it. And part of it is for me to look at it and go, okay, what did I do really well there, and what could I have changed, and sort of dig a little deeper into that. I can't say that I've ever watched any of my performances and went, perfect, absolutely perfect, I wouldn't change a thing. Every time I watch myself, I go, yeah, I could have changed that. I could have delivered that line a little differently. Uh, any number of things, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not opposed to watching myself at all. Um, and I'm sure that sounds a little vain, but I think performers should. I think you should watch your performances to see what you did, rather than just going, well, I gave it everything I had and walk away from it. I don't know. I don't know if that's an opportunity to learn or not if you just don't watch yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? I think if you're in this industry, I think you have to have a certain level of narcissism.
We want people to look
You know,
at us, Gary. Like,
right?
which
So
one of us isn't a little egotistical?
it's just how high your level of narcissism is,
Yeah, for sure.
right? So
Yeah.
I just I don't think you can be in this industry and not have something.
Yeah, no, I love knowing that people out there are, like I said earlier, searching myself on Google. I love the fact that people out there are seeing me perform. What's the point of being a performer if people aren't watching you, right?
Yep.
It's like writing music and nobody ever hears it. What's the point?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a great exercise for ourselves, but ultimately at the end of the day, if you want to be serious about this, you're doing it for other people to see it.
Yep, absolutely. And this show is no exception.
Yeah.
So for the folks watching, tell your friends, because we need to get more eyes.
Yes, please. Make sure they're tuning into this. It's a great show.
When it comes to the independent scene, like I don't know about you, of course, for the last couple of years with COVID and everything else, I've done a couple small indie things over the last couple of years, but nothing really. It's been quiet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been the busiest 2 years in terms of auditions for myself. Anyway, I don't know about you for yourself, but I've had a crap ton of auditions.
Yeah, I've had huge amounts of auditions over the last 2 years, like you said, through this whole COVID thing, and then the independent stuff has kept me busy as far as being in front of camera. Yeah, Mary, Google yourself if you haven't done it. Do it. It's it's incredibly rewarding. Or disappointing. I don't know. I always find it fascinating.
Yeah. But no, it's interesting, that kind of contrast where, like I said, like Alberta has been fortunate to be extremely busy the last couple of years, like our best 2 years really in terms of having productions in Alberta and big name projects. Like The Last of Us and Joe Pickett, Billy the Kid, like just so many things.
Yeah.
But in the reality, from an actor's perspective, I'm still finding it's been more advantageous for the crews than for the actors.
It's funny you say that, because I had that conversation with somebody the other day. They were talking about how they'd seen all these news articles last year about it being the busiest year ever for Alberta's film industry, and it was an incredibly busy year. But I found the ones that were incredibly busy were crew, people behind the scenes, they cut way back on the amount of background performers that were able to be on set, and understandably so. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You don't want a whole bunch of people rubbing shoulders and sneezing and coughing on each other, so I get that. And then, yeah, as far as like getting cast in leads or principal roles in Alberta, there were definitely some people that landed roles here, but I saw a lot of names being brought in from Vancouver and Toronto to fill positions out here. So, and that's just my experience, right? I'm sure other people who have been more heavily involved on the other side of things could quite easily turn around and tell me, Kealey, you're completely out to lunch on that. Our actors have been busier than they ever have in this province. So,
well, having said that, like I do definitely know of a couple, definitely seasoned actors that have been on very, recurring roles on previous series and all that, and they're even struggling to get on set right now.
Yeah,
and
it's bizarre.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's bizarre. I don't really understand why that is when it's such a busy time.
I think a lot of it has to do with, one, the cost of filming up here is cheaper still than filming in the US. Calgary has, or Alberta as a whole, has pretty much every landscape you can possibly imagine within an hour or two of Calgary, right? And then our crews are world class, man. Like, I don't want to downplay them at all. Our behind the scenes people here are absolutely phenomenal at what they do. So they come up here, they bring their talent with them, and then they hire our crews to make the magic happen, right? So that's what's been tough about it. And not to say that I don't want to see those people coming in from out of province or out of country. Absolutely, bring your projects here, please. Just try to put a little bit more of us to work in front of that camera. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, right. Ditto.
Yeah. And I don't think we're the only ones that feel that way. There seems to be more and more background work popping up now that we're coming out on the other end of this COVID pandemic. Hi, Jamie. But I think it's going to be a while before we get back to whatever we consider normal is. We're still masking on set. We're still doing COVID tests. And the goal is to keep everybody safe, right? To keep us working, because the second a production shuts down due to an outbreak of COVID or whatever, that's just money down the drain, and we don't want that to happen either. So people like Shauna and Jin and whatnot have been working very hard to make sure everybody's staying protected. So thanks, guys. I appreciate the work you're doing.
Yes, and just for the folks watching, Shauna and Jin are kind of the COVID officers on a few of the sets, especially indie sets right now.
Yeah,
and major sets. So
yeah,
it's a tough call. Mary and I were actually just on set doing some background last week. Maybe it was this week. I don't know. Time's blurring.
Yeah,
but same thing. The lady that was doing the COVID testing there and stuff like that. Like it's pretty detailed. It's a fair bit of work for them to do that. So,
and they've had to face a lot of BS over the last 2 years from people who for whatever reason disagree with the process, and that's their call. But I don't envy them for having to deal with that kind of garbage. So kudos to you. Just know there's people out there that love the heck out of you guys for doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yep. Good call there. In regards to for yourself, right? You'd mentioned earlier that you made the transition from, you did some Tabor theaters, things like that. Your family's been pretty supportive.
Yes. My wife has been amazing about all of this. About 6 or 7 years ago, I went through a really rough job situation where I ended up jobless for almost a year. And my wife really pushed me to find an agent and get back into this, because she knew that I was passionate about performing and being an actor. And she helps me with all my auditions. She's my reader. She films everything. She puts up with a lot of just stupid stuff from me. My wife is absolutely amazing. And my kids, especially my oldest boy, he keeps telling me he wants to follow in my footsteps. I think he's crazy, but I hope he does better than I've done. But yeah, I've had the opportunity to go on set with him a couple times, and we film auditions for him. And so my family is pretty into it. They're pretty supportive of it. Yeah.
And that definitely helps, right? Especially, and I know you and I have actually talked about this in the past as well, in terms of, the emotional struggle or the mental struggle to have these ups and downs, and always wondering, when that next gig is going to come, or if it's going to come at all, or
it can be very emotionally taxing and exhausting to pump out. Like there was a week where I think I did 10 auditions in 1 week and didn't hear anything back on any of them. And meanwhile, I'm making my wife watch me do these scenes over and over again. She's putting up with me as I'm stressed out and struggling to perform and get the scenes right. And she reads her lines. She cracks jokes where she can to try and lighten the mood. I usually get Shauna, who we talked about before, I usually get her to review most of my scenes to give me some insight. And my wife has taken to purposefully causing outtakes that we have to send to Shauna, because my wife just like, I got to loosen things up. I got to make it easier around here. So she'll start doing accents or cracking jokes in the background, that kind of thing, just to try and lighten the mood a little bit. So she's great. Yeah. I couldn't do this without her.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Just a little comment from Jamie here. Yeah.
They do
the same. Yeah. And it really, it's almost hard to put into words how much that actually does help to have that support system in place.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people, if they didn't have that kind of support structure, they'd probably just be like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
It's funny because we talked about how we all have to be just a little bit narcissistic to do what we're doing. But we're also incredibly emotionally fragile individuals, I've found, for the most part, in the film industry. And we put ourselves out there, and everything at the end of the day, for the most part, is based off of what this looks like. That a lot of decisions are based off of what your face looks like. And being told over and over again, you don't have the face people want to see, is like, it's tough. It's really hard on a person, and you grow a thick skin real fast, but there's still those days where you just beat yourself up and you curl into a ball and have a little temper tantrum, and then you get back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? We're actually almost 50 minutes in here.
I see that.
Yeah. So we'll kind of wrap this up a little bit, but
for sure.
So for the folks watching, if you do have any additional questions or comments before we do kind of wrap up here, go ahead, throw them into the comments section. For those that have been kind of participating, thank you so much.
Yes.
That's why we do this live, because I love the aspect of folks chiming in. So continue to do that and tell your friends to do the same. Because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Out of your experiences so far, what would you say is your biggest learning experience to date?
Oh,
that's a tough one.
That is a tough one, because I like, as an actor, we're constantly learning, we're constantly trying to improve and grow. The biggest learning thing for me over the years would have probably been, and I mentioned the project earlier, is the Canadian Badlands Passion play. I did 18 years of that, from the age of 10 to my early 20s, and growing as a performer on stage, getting to learn from world-class performers and directors and technical people out there, and learning how to use my voice properly, how to display emotion properly on my face. I don't think I'd have any of the skill set I have or the drive to be an actor if it wasn't for that production. I owe so much to the people that have worked on that production over the years. And they're back this year, guys, in Drumheller, the Canadian Badlands Passion player. I think they call themselves the Badlands Passion play now. They're back this year, so please support them. Love it. Love it. It's a cast of like 200 to 300 people on a 9-acre stage outdoors. It's huge. It's massive, and it's incredible. And if you can be a part of it, if you're just starting on this acting journey, get involved with it. It'll teach you more than you could ever imagine going out and performing in an environment like that with the amazing people that are involved. Jamie, I might have to take you up on that. And vice versa. If people need a reader, I'm happy to help any way I can. You bet.
And that's what I'm talking about with this whole community thing. Is everybody is willing to kind of jump in and help each other out wherever they need to.
Absolutely.
I have a list of people I could go to if I really wanted to for reading and so forth. And the same thing, if they want me to read for them, I'm more than willing to do that.
I'm happy to help out any way I can, guys. Like, if you need, what am I working on now? Currently, I've got a couple of independent projects coming up that I've been approached about working on. 2 of them are talking about working with union agreements, so I'm not breaking any rules on those. And I've actually started sitting down and writing. I've got a couple different scripts on the go right now that I'm trying to develop that hopefully someday I'll be brave enough to put them out there for somebody to potentially make. I don't know. I'm trying it. I wrote a lot when I was younger, and I'm just kind of getting back into it. And I'll tell you, writing screenplays is, it's tricky. It's a tricky one. Gary, I don't know how you do it, man, but I'll probably be sending you my scripts once I feel brave enough to put them out there for anybody to read, so you can tell me how bad they are.
I mean, I'm totally open to reading it, but you might want something that's better than me.
I don't know. I've seen your projects, man.
Well, thank you for that. And Jamie also wanted to mention that she sounds good, about the reading portion, because apparently her mom's going to go on strike soon. So
I wouldn't be surprised if my wife starts picketing outside my recording room. Hell no, we won't go.
Right, exactly. So if you had and this is more of a fun question, I guess. If you had the opportunity to work with any other actor, director, something like that, who would your choice be?
For director, honestly, Kevin Smith, man. I love Kevin Smith's work. I love the dialogue in his work. I love his writing. I would love to work on a Kevin Smith project someday. That would blow my mind. And as far as actors go, I don't know, man. That's a tough one, because I've got to work with some pretty amazing people, and I'm not even talking like A-listers. I'm talking the people here in Alberta. I've got to work with some of my favorite people that I know. So it's tough. I mean, I'll take any big budget film they'll throw my way, but I love working with the people I've got to work with here in Alberta.
Nice. I love that answer. Yeah. There you go. Plug Alberta.
Absolutely. We have amazing people here. We really do.
Yeah, that's awesome. On that note, I don't think I can end the show any better. So, I'll just say thanks for taking the time to sit down with us, and definitely appreciate that. For the folks that are watching, thanks for chiming in and making comments and stuff like that. Love it. And for next week's episode, we will actually get to chat with, I'm going to apologize now because I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the last name. But next week we'll have Adele Pomeranke, who is actually supposed to be our guest today, but unfortunately could not make it. So we've rescheduled her for next week. So tune in next week, same time, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will chat with her. Kealey, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And everybody else, have a great weekend. We will see you next week.